So, hi everybody. Welcome to Tuesday, and today we're going to talk about eState and the family tree and adding people and moving relationships, changing relationships, that kind of stuff, and answer any questions for that. So, I'm going to share my screen and we'll do a demo. And you can feel free, if you've got eState open, to try it out on your own. So we're going to start with a sort of a blank canvas, and then we'll add some people and I'll go through that. So here we've got William Shakespeare. He's our client, and we're going to add people to the family tree. So what we have for eState, when you add a relationship or a person to the family tree, we don't have every conceivable relationship because we want to build the relationship out through parents and children, in essence. So you won't see, for example, grandchildren on here because what they are is they're a child of a child. And similarly, grandparents and nieces and nephews who are children of a sibling. So that's how we've done it. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible to create a family tree if you just created random people. And so that's why we've done it this way. So just let's go through spouses first. So down here, you'll see you could click on the add button to add a relationship. Now, you can see that William Shakespeare, he's the only one on our family tree right now, but he's got a circle around him. We're going to add to him. So this is William Shakespeare's spouse. So let's say he's married. Okay. So we're going to click on married, and now we can put in the details about him. Now, give me one moment because I've got to come up with random names. I can never remember people's, I can never come up with random names properly. So anyway, that's what I'm going to just do. So give me 1 second. So here we go. So let's just go with a very simple one. And I'm just going to say suggest. Let me get a list. I had them. All right, so this is Mary. I always remember Mary. And then we can put in her last name, of course. Let's just say Smith as an example. And we can put in a gender as well. So by doing that, we've now linked the two. They're spouses of one another. So that's what we've got here. Now, I might want to add a relationship to Mary as opposed to William. Right now, as I have now two people, I can add a relation to either of them. The way I know I'm adding a relationship to someone is because they have a blue circle around them. So if they have a blue circle, the client has always got a black circle and it's bold. You can see if I'm clicked on them. Now, if I add, now I'm adding a sibling to William because he's bolded. If I instead wanted to add a sibling to Mary, then I'd click on Mary till there was a blue circle. Now I'd click on sibling. Now this is Mary's sibling, and it's Alexander. Okay. And there we go. So that's how you would add a sibling. On the other hand, if I wanted to add a child to William, let's try adding a child to William. So I can, as you know, click on anybody and add a relation to them. I want to click on William and add a child to William. So I've got William with a bold circle around him. And I'm going to click on child. Okay. Now, what that does is it sees that William is in a relationship. So it's going to allow us to add a child in that relationship. It's going to allow us to add a child who's not of that relationship. If they're of that relationship, by default, their name is going to come up as the other parent. Okay. So I can just select that if they belong to them. And let's go like that, and we'll do that. So eState knows that those are the two parents, okay? Now let's say Mary had a child from another relationship. Well, I know I'd have to add a child to Mary, so not to William. So I got to click on Mary. She's got the blue circle. Now go add child, and it's going to ask me the parent, but William is not the other parent, okay? So now I have two additional options. I can say there's a new parent, so I can create another parent for the parent of this child, or I can just say they're a single parent and I don't need to put their spouse's name in. Let's just do that as an example. And now I can add the child's name in here. So now this is now the family tree. We see that Shania is the child of both of them, but Ingrid is only the child of Mary. And maybe we want to put in Mary's other spouse, right? So Mary's divorced from their other spouse. So I've got a circle around them. I can add a person to them. Here we go. We've only got 3 options for another spouse because you can't have more than one spouse, or at least the way we've done it this way. We could indicate they're separated, which means they're still technically a spouse, but they're not so let's just do that. We'll make them a separated spouse. And their name is Billy. So there's the situation, and it's marked with a dash to show that they're separated. So that's basically how you add a spouse. Now, let's say I made a mistake, okay? Ingrid is actually the child of William and Mary. Well, we can fix that. So we can double click on Ingrid like you can double click on anyone. And you scroll down and you can see this tab for relationships, okay? So this is going to identify all the people in the relationship. Well, Billy is not the parent of Ingrid. William is the parent of Ingrid. So we need to delete Billy, remove, okay? And we need to add William. Okay, so let's go add William. And the relationship is the parent. So William is the parent, and it just shows you, just in case, because I always got confused with this, so I insisted that we put this little reminder on there to show me the relationship. Yes, William is the parent, so Ingrid is the child. And then we can go add, and that will then fix that situation. And save, and there we go. Okay. So they show now as the child, and that's, I often get this wrong. They're telling me, oh, this person's a child, and so I assume that they're the child of both of them, and when in fact they're actually the child of someone else. So you can move them around. You just, again, you double click on the person that you need to change the relationship with, go to relationship, and then edit it. If worse comes to worse and you're like, oh God, I've really screwed this up, okay? You can delete all of the relationships. I'm going to show you how to do that. So I've really screwed this up. Shania is not a child of William and Mary. Shania is William's mother, okay? I got this completely wrong. So it's not going to let me fix that because I can't also be William's mother and his child. So I got to remove everybody. eState's kind of smart that way in the sense like you can't get, there's an old song my father used to sing to me that I'm my own grandpa or something like that. I forget what the name of it was, but so we can remove all of the relationships for Shania. And you can see they're in this list now. So we have the family tree view, and we have this all people view. This lists everybody, even people who aren't related, right? So we've got Shania on this list. Now we could make Shania, well, let's make her the mother, William's mother. So we can click on Shania. We can go down to relationships and add a relationship. So it's going to be William. And I'm going to make them that William is the child of Shania. Shania is the parent of William, and go like that. And now when I go to the family tree, that's now been fixed. Okay. At one point, we never had that. If you screwed it up, you screwed it up. Now, if worse comes to worse, like I said, if it's a relationship that you really got wrong and you can't just move them because it's going to change everybody's relationship, then eState won't let you do that. So you have to delete all the relationships and then build it out that way. So that's basically how you do it. And as I've said before, we only have these 4 categories of people, right? Parents, child, siblings, and partners. If I wanted to add a niece or nephew, let's just say I wanted to add a niece or nephew. I didn't want to, Like, I really wish I could just add it directly. Well, you can't, because it can't build a family tree with people hanging with no relationship. And so what we want to do there is just create a sibling. If you don't want to name them, like you don't want to go through the whole rigmarole, just, put whatever you want for the first name and then build out that relationship this way. So now add a child to the sib and you can go from there. Okay. So if I want to add a child, a niece or nephew, I could just go child, none, and then this guy's known as John. There you go. Now, John is the nephew of William. And you can see that because, well, first of all, it would show it to you as well. But I don't know where. Yeah, sib is, there's the sibling. Okay. Now, where is, did I put him in? Yeah, John. Johnny is not showing up, unfortunately. Let me just, oh, there he is, John. Yes, John is showing up. John is family member. So if you wanted to change the title of that person, we could change the relationship and show him as a nephew. So sib, and John would be, if we created a gift for nephews, John would show up, and I'll show you how that is here. So cash gift, classes, there's one member, right? And why does it say +1, 1+ member? The reason being, we've selected, because eState wants to be able to cover situations where you have certain nieces and nephews now, but you want to include in a class gift your future nieces and nephews. So that's under provisions. And we have this future members class, and I've checked off nieces and nephews. So that's why it says 1+. If I uncheck that, okay, and then went back and wanted to see my list of classes, we would see it would list our niece and nephew, John. Because now it can identify who's in the class. It's not future, doesn't include future nieces and nephews. Okay. So, and I see there's a couple of questions. Let's see. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so family living outside of Canada. So obviously for each person that you add, anybody you're adding here, it's going to ask you things like gender, residency, and all of those other features. Residency is here. So you can identify where everybody is living. If they live, for example, in the United States or some foreign country, it's going to identify that on the family tree. Okay. If the person has a special circumstance, so when you add a person, you have residency, special circumstances, relationships, special circumstances, things like estrangement or disability. If they're disabled, there's going to be marked on the family tree. So you can see immediately, oh, okay, I get a sense of what's going on here. I've got a US person, I got a disabled person. Maybe Billy is estranged. So if I picked estrangement, then I can click that and they're marked with a star. So I know that they have a different special circumstance. So that's how that works. Adopted children, we don't deal with any differently than naturally born children. That might be something maybe we would want to keep track of, although we've never come across that. But if that's, I just see a question there, how about adopted children? So yeah, I mean, I would identify them as being a child as if they were naturally born under Ontario law. Of course, an adopted child is the child, for all intents and purposes, of the adoptive parents. If only one of them, for example, if they were a child, let's take a child here. Let's say Mary has a child. So I'm going to click on Mary. She's blue. So now I can add a child to Mary. And this child's name is Libby. I had an Aunt Libby. If Libby's not adopted by William, well, then this is the correct family tree. If Libby was adopted by William, then I can go in there, add William as a parent, and then I'd be okay. Because I think, like I say, adoptive, did I get this right? Yes. I always have to check that. Then I've got this right from a legal point of view. Hope that helps that. The relationships are then so I just want to go back for a second about adding people and family trees. So here's how you could add a family tree at this point, okay? And build it out. And you can build it out as simply or as complicated, make as many complicated relationships as you like. And the other option is to see them in a list. So here is the list, and we've got everybody added here. And you can add non-family members. So let's talk about how you add family members. This is how you would add a closely related person that you want to include in the family tree, okay? What about a cousin, okay? You got a first cousin. You don't want to build out the parents, the siblings, the nieces and nephews, the siblings of the parents. Then we don't want to do all that. We just want to add a cousin, okay? So then just add a cousin. So just go like this, add. Sorry, go to all people because we're not putting them in the family tree. So you go to all people, add, put in their name, Hazel, and go add. And it's going to ask us for a relationship. Okay. Whenever we add a person, not through the family tree, it's going to add a relationship. So we can either leave this blank and just go cancel, and then there's no relationship, and we can do it some other time, or we could do it now. So if it's a relation to William, then that's fine. What's the relationship? Well, we have all of these other options, and one of them is cousin. So, and if we wanted to put some more description, we could. So we can do that, and now they'll be listed as a cousin. Okay? And that applies to, lots of different situations. Again, if I want to add somebody and not add them through the family tree, then, then I would just say, when in doubt, you can't remember a name. And maybe they're not related to the client, they're Mary's friend, okay? So I can click the relationship that I want to identify them relative to. So this is to Mary, and it's Mary's, companion, okay? I also have the option to put in other. So if they're not a person listed here, and by the way, if there are people that you use or relationships that you're using, let us know, we can always add them here. But let's say it's an other, then I can put in other, and then I can put in the description. And in that case, it will do that. Really great friend. So that's the idea on how to, you'll see they say other, and then you can go in here and see relationship. So that's how you add people to to eState. Now we're on the people tab here, okay? And that's where all the people are stored. They're stored in the family tree, and they're stored in our list, etc. But you can be in a gift and still create a new person. Let's say you're trying to add somebody as an estate trustee, but they're not in our family, and they're not. We've never put them in. We don't want to go all the way back to the people tab, add them in. We don't want to do that. So we just click new person, and it's basically the same as if you went to the all people and put them in here. And so, and then again, you can put in a relationship. If I don't want to put in a relationship, I just go cancel, and that's fine. And now I can add them as a appointee, and there they are. So you don't have to go back to the people tab. The only time I would go back to the people tab is if I'm adding, I want them in the family tree. Then I've got to do it this way. I could do it the other way with a relationship, and then it figures it out. I just think it's easier to just click on this, add a person, etc. And you can do that as well, like adding people. You can do that I showed you in the appointments tab, but you can do that as well, creating a cash gift. and you don't have them as a beneficiary, just click new person and add them as a beneficiary. And they'll be in there forever. Like once it's added, it's there to access, and it's there for both spouses. So if you were only acting here for William, but if you were acting for both spouses, once you put it in for one person, it figures it out for the other person as well. So that's, I think, Michaela, anything else that you can think of that you get questions on that I haven't addressed?
I think you hit all the main points that I could think of.
Okay. So that's why if you're in here and you're like, how do I add a niece or nephew? Just remember that you can't build a family tree with people hanging around. That's the risk. The other thing is, I will show one thing. Okay, let's add a parent to Mary. So I wanted to show this. So we, at some point, eState says, hold on, we got two family trees going on here. We can't show everything at once. It's too difficult. So what this did was it said, okay, let's show William first. Here's William's family tree. He's got a parent, he's got a sibling, he's got kids, he's got nieces and nephews. So this is going to show his parents and his siblings and that side of the family. You see these two gray dots here. That means there's another family tree. Okay, there's Mary's family tree. Once it has parents in there, it's going to open up another family tree. And so if I click on this, now I'm looking at it from Mary's point of view, Mary's family tree. Of course, her kids are still there, but her siblings in this one, and Bobby, her parents in this one. Now, if I want to go back to William, click on William. Now I'm looking at William's family tree. Sometimes, and it just looks better if you've got a parent in there. So sometimes what I do is I just put in a fake parent, like parent, right? And then it draws a nicer family tree with siblings linked together with a common, because obviously it doesn't know who the parents are if they're siblings. So it's just easier. And sometimes you just put in parent and then they can tell you their name if you want, but it just holds the family tree a little bit better. Don't worry about that. Like you can do that. It's not a big deal. You can have placeholders. I think there was a question about what this star means. That means it's a special circumstance other than disability. So just to show you what that might be, that is things like estrangement, relationship difficulties, financial management, resides with the client, receives support or other. It's just going to put a star there as opposed to disability and that kind of thing. I want to also show you how do I print, like people ask me this all the time. Well, we want to print the family tree. It's not easy from a development point of view to do that. Because this is, anyway, there's lots of reasons for it that I can't even understand. But what happens if I want to print this family tree? And I often do. You can obviously change the size of the family tree by this sliding scale. So you can make it as big or as small as you want. At some point you lose the names. But let's say I was okay with that. I can just copy this page in essence, cut and paste. Microsoft Windows has this button. You all have it. It's a snipping tool. You go on this, you can search it in your Google bar here for snipping, but you've got it there and it pops up and you go new and you just cut what you want and it's done and it's saved. And now I have that and I can save it anywhere I want, like that. There it is. And now I can do whatever. I can paste it. I can highlight it. Yeah, Mary. You can pick squigglies. You can save it wherever you want and save it to the file. And then you've got the family tree. So it's not the most perfect situation, but you can do it. And I do it all the time with my snipping tool, which is built in to Windows. And I'm sure, Michaela, how do you do it do you know how to do it on a Mac?
I think you can just take a screenshot. It's like control something.
Excellent. So you can Google that. Thank God for Google. And that's how you can take a picture of the family tree. And it's often, it's funny, when you just take a list of instructions or a list of this is this person, this is this person, people will misdescribe relatives and like they'll say, oh, this person's my kid, you know, and they're actually not their kid. They're not related, or they're like, I always find that surprising. Or they're my niece and nephew. Well, they're not really. They're my spouse's child, siblings, child, etc. So it's important, obviously, when we're drafting, especially if you're using class gifts, that you make sure that the family tree is correct, or you can get in some difficulty. The other good thing is if you're ever working on an intestacy, you know, you can't manage an intestacy of any complexity without a family tree, because you always have to use that. So if you want to use eState, if you're administering an intestacy, it's really helpful that way as well, to make sure that you're not missing somebody who's the same level. And we've seen cases of lawyers getting sued because they gave the wrong advice on a distribution. They didn't do a family tree. So thanks, Andrea. Perfect. Appreciate the teamwork here. So that's all I had on this. I hope I covered everything. Does anybody have any questions on family tree, adding people, and that kind of thing? And feel free to unmute and fire away. Fantastic. So excited that next week you'll be able to, for those, and maybe just in the chat, indicate if any of you are looking forward to being able to customize powers of attorney. That is, you know, you don't like our clause, or you want, you know, change the clause and use different wording. We're going to allow that. You're going to be able to put in your own custom wording for our powers and all the provisions of the power of attorney, starting for property and personal care, starting certainly by the beginning of next week and maybe sooner. So that's a big feature that we're coming out with. And we just continue to make everything more customizable so it's more comfortable for you, and welcome your comments and all of those things. So, you know, feel free to send us notes, and we appreciate your support, and hope to see you guys on Thursday. Thursday, we're speaking about encroachments, and rather than unlimited encroachment power, when we want to attach limits on encroachments. And we'll talk about that. And we can also show you how to do it in eState, because it's all built in. So thanks again, and hope to see you on Thursday and again next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.